Welcome. Welcome. I just want to welcome everyone to this training on leader standard work, time management. I believe this training was sparked because we got a question from a young lady who wanted to know how to better manage her time in order to make sure that tasks are getting done on at least a weekly routine basis. And so the answer to her question is leader standard work. And the purpose of this training will be to explain to you how to understand the problem that leader standard work is solving. I want you to learn what it is, and I want you to learn how to use it. And I also want you to learn who uses it and what percentage of your day should be tracked using this tool called leader standard work. Now, this training is the pinnacle of a good operation system. It helps everyone in an organization, no matter if you're an organization of one or if you're in an organization of 5,000. It helps no matter how big you are. Um, and the purpose of this training, like I said, we're going to understand what the problem is, what leader standard work is, how to use it, and who uses it. But before we get started, I want to introduce myself. I am Tamara Keeler, the president of I Am Lean LLC, where I help daycare owners spend less time in the center to pursue other passions. And I do that by helping them to systematize their daycare operations using lean management, lean strategy, lean documentation, and lean training plans. And so leader standard work is one aspect of how to incorporate lean, but it's also a fabulous way for anyone to get their time back, to understand where their time is going, and to problem solve how to have a better day tomorrow than they did today. All right, let's talk about the reason and the real problem that leader standard work is solving. We're going to talk about that in terms of consequences. Now, rather this is a single member business, or rather you're in an organization of 5,000 or 20,000, think about the consequences of not maintaining a persistent and an intensive focus on your process in order that you maintain and improve them. So I'm just going to give you a few seconds to think about it. What are the consequences of not maintaining a persistent and intensive focus on process? Now, I'm going to talk about the answer to this question in terms of safety, quality, delivery, and cost. If you don't focus on the processes, your life, the things that you are doing every day in terms of what processes are you doing? How do you drive downtown? How do you make your coffee in the morning? How do you open up your center? How do you close your center? How do you take care of children? How do you interact with, how do you do any number of tasks that you need to get done in a day? If you're not focused on improving those processes, then safety wise, there could be more injuries. You're going to trip and fall more often. You're going to bump into things more often. If you are a daycare owner and you're taking care of children, there could be more tickets issued, more fines, more safety hazards that have not been addressed. And so injuries go up with your staff or the people who you're trying to serve. In terms of quality, quality is going to suffer because if we're not improving the processes that we are involved in to deliver an output, like I said, rather the output is going to you because you're the only customer of that process, or rather the output is going to parents, or if you sell products and that output is going to customers around the world. If you don't improve the quality, if you're not focused on that process to improve the quality, then you're going to have a lower quality output, right? The customer's not going to get what they value. You're going to have more defects. You're going to have more issues with what you delivered. And so the next thing is cost. If you don't focus on your processes and improve them and maintain them, costs are higher. Labor costs are higher. Material costs are higher. Poor planning means you have to buy stuff at the last minute. Your staff costs are going to be higher. And so not focusing on consequences for your life, for your business, means you're having more problems. You're going to spend more time in the long run trying to fix these issues and have more frustrations than you would if you just addressed them in the beginning. And so, starting with that, we want to talk about, well, should these things that are going wrong, if we focused on process, should we track them every day? Should we track them at all? If I come to your house and you're a single person and I'm asking you, what are the problems that happened yesterday? Do you have a response? Do you have a tracking sheet that shows me what went wrong in your day and what are you doing to fix it so that it doesn't happen tomorrow? What's the biggest thing that keeps going wrong all week or all month? And what steps are you prepared to take to fix it? What did you try already to fix it? Do you have that available? If you don't have that available, then you're allowing all of your processes to just run rampant and for you just to forget about important things that need to get done, not really pay attention to why you keep missing meetings, missing appointments, not really focused on what was the goal and why you haven't achieved any goals that you had set for yourself or for your business, for your life. And so you're not really managing. And so there's a saying that um, if there are no problems, then you don't need any managers. But if you have a manager, that means that there are some things that that manager is being paid to fix. So if you are only a single member LLC or a single person like me, then I have to manage the problems that come up in my business. Otherwise, there's really no business at all. And so this slide is saying, what do you want your leads to do every day? So this is if you have staff, your lead teacher, your leads, not the supervisor, but just who's in charge of taking care of the first level of leadership, whatever that first level of leadership is. What do you want them to do? And then you want to ask yourself, well, what are they actually doing? Because they're actually doing the things that are non-negotiable, but there's also problems that are coming up every day, and they're also doing those things as well. Now, if I'm taking time to do value-added work, the work that I'm being paid to do, and I'm taking time to do the things that come up at the last minute, those firefighting storms, those unexpected things, like, oh, something just broke down, now I got to go fix it. I'm also doing the things that I'm really not supposed to do. That's where I need to focus efforts in terms of a manager to get that time back. That's where you want to problem solve how to have a better tomorrow than we did today. And so when should we track those things? Well, you want to systematically have a time every day where you're tracking what went wrong. You want to have a system in place to write down, here's all the things that went wrong today. Oh, and it looks like this number 3 also went wrong yesterday and the day before and last week as well. So we should probably have a solution for that number 3. Okay, so let's identify, what do you need to go right? What are the non-negotiables for your life or for your business? And so if you're a daycare owner, for example, your non-negotiables may be something like having a one-on-one with a director, having a time to create weekly lesson plans, having quarterly parent check-ins. If every day you're supposed to check the food temperature according to your license, then you want to make time every day to make sure that gets done, and responding to parents. Now, some of the other things that you may want to put on your non-negotiable list are things like coming up with improvement ideas, making time to fix those ideas to make the business better. Strategy items, any project that we have, making time to actually complete the task. Doing a go see. If you made an improvement in your life or in your business, go and see if it's sustainable. If you made a safety improvement, going to see a month later how it's holding up. Any audits in your business, whether it's a safety audit, standard work audit, control plan audit, quality audit, whatever audit you have, you want to make time and make that a routine, repetitive time where it gets done. And any documentation that you need to write, make that a standard time in your business. So it's important to identify, what did you need to go right, because a lot of times all those things are going wrong and it's getting in the way of the things that you need to go right. So we started off by saying, Here are some consequences if we don't focus on our processes. Now, the process is supposed to deliver our non-negotiables. For example, if this was a job description, anything on that job description, let's say there's a list of 12 things that I need that job to produce, those are my non-negotiables. I'm going to write that. I'm going to put a time to it. I'm going to put a day of the week where it needs to happen. I'm going to say every day, task 1 has to happen. Every week, make sure task 3 has to happen. Right? And so I need to focus on my process to understand why I can't get these tasks completed. So that's how these two concepts go together. Now, have you currently heard of leader standard work? Do you use leader standard work? Do you have a leader standard work with you? I carry my leader standard work with me all the time, and I have a few different templates that I use, but it's pretty much a color-coded task list. That's a problem-solving tool in order for you to manage your time. Now, let's talk about what's commonly on leader standard work and how to use it. So it's a visual management tool. So it's a piece of paper that you visually can manage your time with, and it has the following elements. It focuses on people. It doesn't focus on people, but rather it focuses on processes. Now, what does this mean? Even though you may have a list of things that are required in order for you to be successful that you need to get done every single day, we are not going to say this is your task list. We're going to say this is the role of the director. This is the role of a president. This is the role of an administrative assistant. We want to break down those tasks and for a role, because we want to be able to train anyone on how to do that role. And if something is broken in that role, if any one of those tasks don't get done, it's not Marie's fault. It's not Erica's fault. It's not John's fault. There's something broken with this process. That is this role, okay? And leader standard work is going to help us identify what stole the time so that this role couldn't be fulfilled. It's also a list of the predictable and repeatable tasks that must be done in order to sustain the management system. And so the management system is where you have the managers making sure that we're able to produce the output, and the managers are intently focused on the process to get that to happen. The task includes step, sequence, output, and because it's a visual management tool, you can see the capacity of time, how much time is being taken up with this, how much time has to be taken up with the role. And like I said, it supports audits, meetings, go-sees, and things like that. Now, let's talk about why everyone needs leader standard work. So traditionally, businesses and people themselves, they don't look at their life as a process. They look at their life as, oh, every day I can change this, I can change that, I decide this and that. They don't look at the way that they do things as a process. And so everything is dependent on a person. If that person doesn't come to work, the business just fails, because the only people that know how to do it is John, and John's not here today, right? So that's traditionally people aren't considering the processes. They aren't considering the root cause for when things don't go right. They're just looking at it like it just happened. But if you want to be an enterprise striving for excellence, you're going to change that mindset and you're going to become process focused. So you're going to know that if you had a late start in the morning, that's because your alarm process was probably broken, or your clothes were wrinkled because your night routine process was broken, or the machine broke down because the autonomous maintenance process was broken and I didn't catch that it ran out of oil soon enough because I don't have a check in place to look for if this machine has oil. So you're going to start to identify processes that are in your life, that are in your business, that are within your day, because within these processes are the solutions to how to get your time back and how to make sure that the process gives the same output every single time. And so we want to make sure that we have a desired output that's repeatable, predictable, and a part of robust processes to reduce our lead times. So we're moving from being a people dependent to a process dependent, and leader standard work is going to get us there. Now, let's talk about what percentage of your day should be dedicated to leader standard work. Well, the higher you go up in management, the more um, the more likely you don't need as much time dedicated to leader standard work. For example, if you're a daycare director or owner, only 15% of your time should be dedicated to leader standard work. That's about 8 hours a day, like 8 hours a week. Okay, so you should have 32 hours freed up to do other stuff. You can write a book, you can travel, you can open up more businesses, you could help your elderly daycare, right? You can build relationships with your banker, with a marketing team, with your accountant. You can do any number of things except work inside of the center. Now, when you go down into the closer you get to people who do the value added work, more of their time should be dedicated to making sure the actions of the business are happening like clockwork. So when you get to this lead teacher, about 50% of the day should already be dictated with leader standard work items. And when you get to a teacher or teacher aide, even greater. So an even greater percentage is dedicated. Now, if you're the president of a company and you just can't seem not to go in because you're always needed at a meeting all throughout the day, every single day, something's wrong, right? If your operations are taking up that much time, something's wrong. Something's wrong. Okay? You might need some foundational items like leader standard work for all your staff, like documentation. Like there's some other lean tools in the foundational aspect of the Toyota House of Improvement that you're missing. And you need that stability. But leader standard work can help you definitely problem solve what we're missing to get your time back. Okay. So now that we said that, let's talk about why use leader standard work. You want to ensure that all functions are working on the right things and that they are aligned to strategies. It doesn't matter if you created a strategy for your life where you said in 10 years you're going to have 7 businesses, you're going to be a published author, you're going to be living in LA, you're going to be having this women's group, or whatever you've defined for yourself. You want to make sure that the strategy that you set, every other entity is in alignment with that. It also provides a blueprint for coverage when the person responsible is absent. So how many of you have taken a job and day one of the job, you had no clue what to do? Everything was chaotic. Or let's say day one, you had a trainer who taught you how to do the job one way. When you went back to work that next day, it was a totally different person and they did everything differently. And they said, forget about everything you learned the first day because you're going to learn it a totally new way the second day. Have you experienced that? How chaotic is that? That does not feel good. It does not feel very respectful. And so if you have a blueprint for coverage, leader standard work is going to make sure everyone does it the exact same way. You're going to learn the steps in the exact same order. Leader standard work is going to help you really with your onboarding by having a system like this. It eases the transition as people advance to a more different role. And so if you had a person who was in the role before you, if they left you a guideline as to what needs to happen every single day, every single week, every single month, would you appreciate that? Yes. If you were left a guideline of make sure that this report goes out every Tuesday before 2 o'clock, and as a matter of fact, here's the link to the work instruction for how to make that report, would you be grateful to have something like that? Yes, it saves your time. And so leader standard work can ease the transition as people move from one role to the next. It allows you to visually see where your time is being consumed. So if you're that lead teacher where 50% of your day should be freed up, and if you're looking at your capacity on leader standard work and you see 10% of your day freed up, something's wrong. something's wrong. And so you have a capacity tool, a visual tool right in front of you to where you're like, I need to get my time back. I need to see where I'm spending my time because this ain't right. I can't get my development stuff. I'm supposed to be the lead teacher. I don't got no time to mentor no one. And so this business is not producing the output that it needs to because my time is locked down doing this other stuff. And it designates times for problem solving and supports continuous improvement efforts. All right. So now let's understand that leader standard work, because it's a role, it needs to be built with a leader's mindset, meaning whatever you need to do, the leader, your leader, also has things to do as well. For example, if a director has a one-on-one, that means that the leader standard work for the director is going to say one-on-one. The leader standard work for the staff is also going to say one-on-one. That's who they're meeting with. If the leader standard work for the director has a audit review, the leader standard work for the staff is going to say do the audit. So whatever the staff is doing, the leader is supporting it. So both leader standard works are being built all the way until we have a role defined. And so defining the role is just like whatever that job description for the role was, all the tasks and steps that need to get done every day, every week, every month, every year in order to fulfill this role so that the business can be maintained is going to be on there. Now, how do you get started? Well, first you just want to track what do you have to do and when did you do it. So it's easy to say, it's easy to create a sheet like this where you put on there 7 o'clock, 7:15, 7:30, 7:45. You just keep going all the way until the end of your day so you can stop at 4 o'clock p.m. and you write down, what did you do? What did you do? You want to know, what are you spending your time on, even if it's not ideal today? You want to know, what are you doing? What do you have to do? What's on your plate? Even if it's not supposed to be on your plate, because we know that there's things that our leads are getting paid to do. And then there's the, oh, I had to fix this because it broke. Oh, I had to talk to this person because they didn't have any communication. Oh, I had to deal with this interruption, and that interruption. So what are you actually spending your time on every single day? Make a list like this, and you only need to track your time for like 3 days. At the max, 5 days. But you really don't need to do this more than 3 days before you have a good idea of what are the repetitive things that you're doing and that you have to do. Include those non-negotiables as well, that you have to do every day, every week, every month, every year. So once you have a good idea of what you're doing, now consider, what do you want to be doing? What should you be doing? So if you're the owner of a business and you see that you're the owner of a daycare and you see that you're changing diapers and that you're teaching classes as if you're the teacher or the aide every single day, you're going to ask yourself, okay, if 100% of my time is spent working in the center, what do I want to be doing? I want to actually be doing everything in the quadrant 3. Quadrant 3 is my strategy work. I want to develop people, right? I want to make sure that we're hitting our safety, quality, delivery, and cost goals. I want to check on those projects. That's what I want to be doing. But I'm actually doing something different. And so usually it's the things that are important and not important, but they're urgent. Those are the things that usually get done. And the things that are in that quadrant 3, they're not urgent, but they are time sensitive. Those are the things that I should be having on my leader standard work. So what do you want to do? You want to make time for all those things. Put them on your leader standard work. Even though you have absolutely no way to do them today, that's what we're working towards. So put that on your leader standard work Even if you tracked your time for the last 3 days and not one time were you able to build a relationship. Not one time did you do a strategy item that's on your 10-year plan or your 1-year plan. You didn't do none of that. You wanted to go to law school. You wanted to write a book. You didn't write not one day, but put it on the list anyway, because what your job is going to be is to use this leader standard work as a problem solving tool to get your time back. Yep. You're going to start taking one item at a time that you did and figure out how to move it off your plate. I'll tell you a story. I taught this to a group of supervisors one day, and the supervisors, they had so many fires going on, not literal fires, but they were working so hard and had so many urgent things that popped up. They had no time to do their job, no time to develop anybody. They had no time to do supervisor work, okay? Now, I challenged them and said, look at what you're doing and see how you can get 5 minutes of time back. What process improvement could you make just to save 5 minutes of time? Every one of those supervisors came up with an idea that could save them 5 minutes of time. Some of them did things as simple as rearranging the icons on their desktop computer, because whenever they needed to look for a file to do a report, it took them a long time to find it. They were always searching on their computer for files and couldn't find it. And so by rearranging their desktop, making things simpler to find, they saved 5 minutes of time. Great. Once they got back 5 minutes of time, the next question was, what can you do to get another 5 minutes of time? And another 5 minutes of time. Pretty soon, those supervisors were able to save and get back 1 hour of time in a day. 1 hour of time. That was enough to start mentoring and coaching their leads, who could then do more items to remove off the supervisor's plates. Pretty soon, the supervisors had all of their time back, and the leads who were struggling and overworked and actually running the machines, instead of leading people to run the machines, the leads were able to start getting their time back as well. So I've seen this work so many times, and I know that you can do it as well. But first, you want to identify what are the non-negotiable items that you need to be able to do, not miss, in a day, in a week, in a month. Put those on your leader standard work, because you're going to start problem solving to get rid of the things that you are spending time on and make time for the things that are important. All right. So this is an example of what a leader standard work template could look like. The template you use doesn't matter, but you at least want to make sure there's space for the tasks, the sequence, and the steps that you need to get done in a day, in a week, in a month, or even in a year. You want to have a space to take notes. It can be on the front of it or the back of it. In this example, the space is in the middle of the leader standard work. And you also want to have a visual capacity. Capacity means visually be able to see at a glance where your time is available and how much time is being taken up. So in this example, the right-hand side of the template, you see all that open green space? That open green space represents free time that is not assigned to leader standard work. If there is a meeting that you pencil in, great. You can use that time for anything flexible, but for sure, anything in blue or gold, those are the things that have to get done at a certain time, of the day. So you want to make sure on your leader standard work template that the role is defined. So in this example, it says lead teacher standard work. Are the tasks clearly listed? You want to make sure that the tasks are listed. And in this example, the tasks have a number assigned to them, and they're listed in order of the day that they have to get done in. Do they include step, sequence, output, and capacity? So like I said, the steps in the sequence are over here on the left. The capacity is in the right shaded boxes. And do they support GO-SEE audits and continuous improvement? So you want to make sure everything you want to get done, whether you have time today or not, put that on there. And is there a visual control that has been audited? So this leader standard work, the bottom green, you may not be able to see it, but it says manager's signature. So you want your leader standard work to be approved by the person in authority, excuse me, ahead of you, or you may want to just approve it yourself if it's just your leader standard work. Okay, now note the total capacity of this work. So some days, if you see that, if you add up all the time that it takes in one day and it's over 8 hours, or if it's right at 8 hours, that's too much. There's no time for development. There's no time for flexibility. There's no time for walking to the bathroom and back. So you can start there to start getting your time back and improving. How do you focus on your processes to maintain and improve them? So you can start where you are overburdened in time on any single day. So in this example, time values have been added to each day for each task to show, hey, you're supposed to do 15 tasks today. Did you know that because of the time it takes to do each of them tasks, you're likely not to get them done? It could just be a simple audit as that. Wow, I didn't realize that if I put time to what I was expected to do, I would really see that it was unrealistic to start. These things are taking too much time. So that's the first problem solving you could actually do. Next, we want to look at what's missing from this template. So at the top, we have this big open, there's no name there, there's no role there. Leader standard work is for a role. And so having that on there is going to be a key. Also, leader standard work should have a space for the work variation. You should have a space that says, hey, here's what went wrong in the day. So it can be the back of the leader standard work. On that other template, we saw that it was in the middle of the leader standard work, but you want to have a space because the purpose of having a tool like leader standard work isn't to be able to have a checklist. The purpose is to write down all the reasons why we couldn't do our leader standard work. Honestly, we have leader standard work to help us problem solve why we couldn't do leader standard work. So you definitely need this work variation spot. It shows what you're actually working on that's not a part of your leader standard work, and you get to ask yourself a few questions. Is this a recurring issue? Should it be a part of my leader standard work? Could the root cause be found and the gap permanently eliminated? So how do I get rid of this? So when you create your leader standard work template, you just want to make sure that you have all of your repeatable, predictable, daily, weekly, periodic tasks listed. The capacity and the green spaces should be shown, right? You want this to be a visual tool. If you create just a regular checklist or use a calendar, you don't have the visibility of the capacity. You want to designate time for your process improvements, and you want to have a timely review of your direct reports audits. Or you want to make sure there's a timely review of your leader standard work with your supervisor. And why is the review important, that one-on-one? Because a manager could help you better resolve your time. They can help you to better problem solve. They've been in your shoes, so they know how to get back your time. Managers have all type of tricks up their sleeves to get you your time back. Okay, so what are the layered audits? So you want to have a review of the leader standard work by your manager, or if you're a manager of your direct reports, you want to make sure that people are aligned and working on the right things. For example, Lean has a principle called constancy of purpose. Now, this means if you have 21 daycares or 100 daycares, you only need one CEO to pass down their strategy to every single center. You pass down one strategy, and every single center is aligned and making sure that the things that they are working on, the projects that they are producing, are going to make the whole business green and not red every quarter. And each center is going to look at that main strategy and they're going to say, here are the steps and the actions that we need to take every month, every day, or every week in order to make sure that we are hitting a goal and not missing a goal. And so having leader standard work, making sure that all the routine projects and processes get done is going to ensure that everyone is working on the right things. The audits will highlight the gaps in the process, and they're going to provide an opportunity for leaders to coach and develop those that report to them. All right. So I've been talking about using leader standard work as a problem-solving tool. Remember, the purpose of doing leader standard work is not to follow a checklist of tasks, but the purpose is to problem solve the reason why we can't get our time back. It's to figure out what's getting in our way that we need to find a solution for. So the template should have the time stealer identified. The root cause should be listed, as well as what you're doing about it. So you can bring all of your thoughts to your review meeting and say, you know what, I didn't get these 3 tasks done, but here's why, and here's what I'm doing about it. So leader standard work is your personal development tool to show you how to get your time back, how to communicate to your leaders that you are aware of what's going on and you are fully capable of doing a process improvement to fix it so that next time you can hit that leader standard work. So we like to call it PDCA, plan, do, check, and act. It's a PDCA cycle. It's a process improvement cycle. All right. So leader standard work, like I said, could differ in terms of the format, but if you are reviewing your leader standard work, you want to ask these 4 questions. What's getting in your way? What do you need help with? What can I do better for you? And is there anything you would like to improve about the process? You can use your leader standard work itself to visually check off when a task was completed. You can put an X in a box. If a task is skipped, you can write the letter I. If a task was just missed altogether, or if a task was late, you can put a circle in the box. So as a leader, if you saw this, what would you want to discuss with your direct report on their leader standard work? So it looks like everything was covered. If you were sitting down with your direct report and you saw this on their leader standard work, you probably just want to say what happened for the task to get missed, or what happened for the task to get skipped, right? What are you doing about it? How can I help support you in that? What are you going to change next time? All right. So in terms of capacity, as a leader, what would you discuss with your direct report if you saw this? So looking at the bottom, it says capacity totals Monday 9.25. So we will probably discuss the capacity is unrealistic on Mondays, and let's figure out how to move that meeting or how to do something different for the rest of the week, because the rest of the week I got a little bit of time to spare. So you just want to discuss, let's figure out how to get your time back on Mondays because it seems like it's unrealistic. So different things. So you're really using leader standard work as a problem solving tool. All right. So to kind of wrap up these slides, we're going to talk about a few key takeaways. A few key takeaways is why use leader standard work, right? To ensure all functions are working on the right things and are aligned to the strategies. Leader standard work provides a blueprint for coverage, right? Leader standard work is a PDCA cycle. Leader standard work shows you how to do the things that are important to you, how to get your time back. It's a guide for focusing on everything that matters in the business. Okay, I want to thank you Send me your questions. You guys can sign up for my operations program or any of our classes. You can go to our website at www.iamleanllc.org, or just send me a message directly with any questions you have about this training. Thank you so much.